Once upon a time in a small village in China, there lived a poor but kind-hearted boy named Ma Liang. He worked hard every day, helping his family and tending to the fields. Though his clothes were worn and his stomach often empty, his heart was full of dreams. More than anything, Ma Liang loved to paint, but there was one problem. He had no brush. Without a brush, he could only draw in the dirt with sticks or carve images onto rocks with his fingers. Still, he never stopped practicing, and soon his drawings looked as if they could come to life. One night, exhausted from a long day's work, Ma Liang fell into a deep sleep. As he dreamed, an old man with a long white beard appeared before him. The man smiled and held out a paintbrush made of gold. "Ma Liang," he said, "I see the kindness in your heart and the talent in your hands. Take this magic paintbrush. Whatever you paint will come to life." When Ma Liang woke up, he found the golden brush lying beside him. At first, he thought he was still dreaming, but when he picked it up, he felt its smooth surface, warm in his hands. Was it truly magical? There was only one way to find out. He dipped the brush in water and painted a bird on the ground. To his amazement, the bird flapped its wings and flew into the sky. His heart pounded with excitement. He painted a fish in the village stream, and it sprang to life, splashing joyfully in the water. Ma Liang realized that this gift could help people. From that day on, he used the brush to paint for the poor. When families had no food, he painted rice bowls that became real. When travelers were thirsty, he painted wells that filled with fresh water. The villagers rejoiced, calling him a miracle worker. But news of the magic paintbrush soon reached the ears of the greedy and powerful governor. One day, as Ma Liang was painting, soldiers stormed into the village. "The governor demands your presence at the palace," they announced. Before he could protest, they seized him and took him away. At the grand palace, the governor sat on a golden throne, surrounded by treasures. He smirked and said, "Boy, I hear you have a magic paintbrush. Paint me a mountain of gold." Ma Liang clenched the brush in his hand. He knew that if he obeyed, the greedy governor would only use the gold to harm the poor. So he shook his head. "I will not use my brush for greed." The governor's face darkened with anger. "Then you will rot in prison until you change your mind," he thundered. Locked in a cold, dark cell, Ma Liang sat quietly thinking. He knew he had to escape. Slowly, he lifted his brush and painted a door. It shimmered for a moment, then solidified into real wood. Carefully, he pushed it open and slipped past the guards. But the governor was not easily fooled. The next morning, he sent his soldiers after Ma Liang. They captured him once more, this time locking his hands in chains. The governor sneered. "Now you will obey me. Paint gold or suffer the consequences." Ma Liang took a deep breath. He had an idea. Holding the brush, he began to paint. First, he painted a vast blue sea. The governor leaned forward eagerly. "Where is my gold?" he demanded. Ma Liang ignored him and continued. He painted a magnificent ship on the water. The governor's eyes gleamed with greed. "Yes, that will do. Take me aboard at once." As soon as the governor stepped onto the ship, Ma Liang painted strong winds. The waves rose high, tossing the ship back and forth. The governor shouted in fear, "Stop this at once!" But Ma Liang was not finished. He painted a massive storm with crashing waves and roaring thunder. The governor clung to the mast, but the ship tilted wildly. Then with one final stroke, Ma Liang painted the sea swallowing the ship whole. Silence fell over the palace. The soldiers watching in horror knew their greedy master was gone. They fled in fear, leaving Ma Liang standing alone. With a calm heart, Ma Liang returned to his village. He continued to use his magic paintbrush, but never for greed, only to help those in need. And so, the boy with the golden brush lived on, bringing hope and kindness wherever he went. If you like the story of Ma Liang, please let us know in the comments. If you want to see more Chinese folklore, as well as other fascinating stories from around the world, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us bring more amazing tales to life.